We are live, everyone. Welcome back to another live show. I know we were live earlier today with Dave from Canuck Play and talking about the Doug Flutie's Maximum Football. So, we're back for our regular show, talk some NFL. There's some CFL stuff to talk about, so we'll get right into it real quick. All right, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. We did have that conversation earlier today with Dave, but this is a different episode. We got some NFL, some interesting NFL topics, a lot of undefeated teams heading into week 3, a lot of injuries from week 2, actually. Fantasy teams are hurt. I know we're both hurting individually for fantasy. And some interesting upcoming matchups for week 3. So, and I know Frankie had a couple of things about the CFL you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, Shane, we teased it a little bit on our Twitter a couple of weeks ago. We want to talk about a little bit about Marcel Desjardins, because I believe as of right now, he's the only general manager in the CFL that sits as a contract expiry for this offseason. So I think both of us have to have that conversation about whether he should be coming back or not. So that's our CFL topic that we got to get to. Again, we talked to Dave from Canuck Play about the upcoming release of Doug Flutie's Maximum Football that comes out on Friday. So that was an interesting conversation. If you want to find that, you can find that on our Facebook, Twitter, our YouTube, and I think that's everywhere we went live with that. So also, that might be spliced into our episodes somewhere when we do go to the regular podcasting platforms that we're always on. So yeah, keep an eye out for that because it's going to be in there in some capacity.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a really insightful conversation. As someone who's played the last couple of years, I'm excited for Maximum Football 20, as well as the sim league that is happening with it. So it's an exciting interview. It's on YouTube and whatnot. If you guys want to go out and check it now, it's there on our YouTube page. So after this, you can head on over. But We'll jump right into this Marcel Desjardins talk because I think this one's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So honestly, Shane, we're at the point with the Marcel Desjardins saga where we've had plenty of time to digest this offseason. We've had plenty of time to evaluate what happened before it. And we've seen all the success that he's had with this Red Blacks team in the past. The question now, like, do you bring him back?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, you were going to bring him back anyways, and it's not his fault the season was canceled.
But were you going to bring him back anyway?
I mean, you brought him back. You brought him back for the 2020 season. You told him that, well, we'll see how 2020 goes. It's not fair to him that there was no 2020 season. And if you look at the offseason additions that the organization had and, the faith that he put into the defense and how he kind of retweaked the offense, I think honestly there was a good chance he would have been brought back past 2020.
You think so?
Oh, 100%. I think and I haven't been the biggest fan of Desjardins. I think if you ask most people, him and Campbell, I have hated quite a long time. I've made my displeasure known for both of them relatively often. But I think it's unfair. It would be like firing a coach, right? During all this. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the players or the organization. It's not fair to the fans.
I think the whole situation is a difficult one because, you look at what Marcel Desjardins has done for the Red Blacks, and you're talking about a guy who took a 2-16 team with the help of Henry Burris and Rick Campbell and turned them into a legitimate contender, right? I think we can both agree on that. It's not an opinion, that's fact. What happened after that, I think, is where my concern is. I think you truly have to know what happened in that 17 offseason to make a decision, to be honest with you. And without having this 2020 season, I think it's difficult to evaluate the offseason that he had.
Yeah, but I mean, how much of it was, because I know, especially once, like after, Trevor Harris and whatnot, there was reports that, Rick Campbell voiced his confidence in Dominic Davis to be a starting quarterback. And, apparently, according to Desjardins, he voiced his, between the two, it sounded like, Campbell had faith in the offense going in. It sounded like the guys that we lost, he felt that they were replaceable. As right as wrong as that was, clearly on the score sheets it showed. But, we also didn't have success with the guys that were brought in. So how much of it is his fault and how much of it was coaching? And 2020 would have really given you an idea of that, and you could have made a decision on there. I think it would be wrong to fire him after no season with a new coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because there's so many factors that you can look at as potentially sharing the blame for what happened in that 2008. No, it wasn't 2017 offseason. It was 2018 offseason, right?
Yeah, 2018.
Or 19. I don't know. My years are so confused right
now.
2019
offseason, because it would have been the 2019 season.
Yeah. I think that could be a combination of things. I think it could be a combination of the Red Blacks not wanting to spend as much, which from what I've been told and what Mark Gowdy has said in the past and what he's told me in private, that doesn't sound to be the case at all. So you can kind of scratch that one off your list. Does it come down to the GM wanting to show that he's so much smarter than everybody else? Is it poor scouting? Is it coaches not agreeing with certain players and they didn't want to bring Trevor Harris back for whatever reason? I think there's so many things that you look at, but of course the guy that has the final say is going to be Marcel Desjardins. And do I fault him for not bringing Trevor Harris back? Not necessarily. I'll be honest with you, Shane. I'm not a Trevor Harris fan. We know that, right? If I had the option right now, to re-sign him onto this team that we have right now or keep Nick Arbuckle, I might side with Arbuckle. Just based on dollar versus production.
But here's the thing, though, is that like if your coach tells you, hey, I'm confident in the people we have, why would you go out and spend money if you don't need to, right? Like, yeah, the GM makes the final say, or we'd like to believe that he makes the final say. But realistically, if the coach doesn't want a player or wants a player, the GM's job is to go out and get that player. Because if the player doesn't fit the coach, you're not going to bring in a guy that doesn't fit the coach's system. So why would you go out and grab a player if your coach knows and has vocally told you that, hey, I don't want him? You want it. It would be just a bad business decision, a bad football decision. So I think Campbell has a lot to do with that offseason.
Now, people will tell you, Shane, that I was optimistic about the season before it started.
So was
that's
I.
That doesn't necessarily come from optimistic for the 2019 season. That doesn't necessarily come from me believing that it was going to be a good football team, but more so rather me just being a massive homer, right? So I thought that there was a chance that it would be a solid football team, but the more you watched, it became glaringly obvious that they just ran with all their backups, and you can't do that in professional football. You need somebody who's going to be able to make a play for you. And when you bring in when the two guys, no disrespect to Nate Behar or Caleb Hawley, but when those are the two guys that you bring in to replace Greg Ellingson and Deontay Spencer, you're going to miss out on something.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, they didn't replace Ellingson or Deontay Spencer with those guys. They replaced, RJ Harris, because RJ Harris stepped into that role. And because we need to remember that, like, RJ Harris, that was his second season. So I think, realistically, the biggest thing that hurt the offense was the fact that they didn't have a damn OC for most of the year. And
that I agree with that.
You can see it when they were playing, was that like there was no continuity, like there was no real game plan. But I don't know. I feel like Desjardins has earned one more year.
It's hard though to give your general manager a 1-year contract. Like, I think right now you're at a crossroads in your franchise. You need to make the decision whether Marcel Desjardins is here for the next 3 to 4 years, or if you find a new GM right now. I think you're at that point because you can't go year to year with your general manager, right? If let's say you give him a 1-year contract right now, and he goes into another offseason and builds the team to his likeness, and it's not good enough, right? You fire him then. All of a sudden, the person who comes in is in an even bigger mess than they would be right now, right? Like, you got to make the choice whether he's coming back for the next 3 to 4 years, or if you're finding a new guy right now.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, because they both went into the understanding that there was no contract extension, nor would there be any hasty decisions made, and they would see how the year went. They already made that establishment early in the offseason. So what's stopping them from both coming back and be like, hey, we made this agreement. Let's just move it to 2021 and go from there. Because like you said, where else is he going to go? What harm, what good would it be for Desjardins to leave? It would do him no good to leave after this year.
You're not talking about it from a Marcel Desjardins standpoint. You're talking about it from an Ottawa Redblacks standpoint.
Yeah, but who are you going to replace him with? There literally does no good to move on from him this year. Who would name one GM that you would feel comfortable with bringing in to replace Desjardins? There's no one that knows the game better than Desjardins. There's no one that knows the game better in the office stuff and the management stuff better than Desjardins right now. After all this COVID stuff, you want someone who knows that. And I think Desjardins is the best person to do that for you. Yeah,
I do agree with. Like, there was a phase there where I was a little bit anti Marcel Desjardins, but after the offseason he had, bringing in Nick Arbuckle, making that aggressive trade for him, bringing in Cleon Lang, hopefully you were hoping that would bring in a couple more sacks than what we're accustomed to here in Ottawa. But like, I think things were starting to look a little bit better. I think they were still maybe a little bit light on the receiving core, but when you bring in a guy like Jalen Saunders in late March, that certainly helps you out there. I thought moves were happening. I thought good things were about to happen when Noel Thorpe isn't brought back, and we talked to Sherrod Baltimore, and he talks about it being a weight off his shoulders, and he'll actually be able to go play now. There was hope for a little bit when we talked to Jonathan Rose that they would be able to work something out and bring him back. Like, the team started to quickly take on a new life, I guess you could say, and it was almost like that we were going to start to see the Red Blacks of old come back. So I think that his offseason was about as good as you could have possibly imagined it to be if you're a Red Blacks fan, especially bringing in Paul LaPolice too.
Do you think maybe possibly Desjardins wasn't the problem after all? Obviously some players it might have been, and that's the nature of the world, is that you don't get along with everyone, and that's just how it is. Some people seem to like Rick Campbell more than Desjardins and vice versa. Some people seem to have no issue with either of them. But, it seems like after Rick Campbell, there was a little bit of speculation that, this would have hindered Desjardins' offseason, even though they brought in LaPolice and whatnot. Like, what good would it, even for a marketing standpoint, what good would it do? What good would it do for coaching? What kind of morale would it give players, returning players, that, hey, the GM is gone because we were impatient? What does that say about how you're going to, if you get off to a rough start, what does that say about, for Paul LaPolice?
I think part of the problem that people have with Marcel Desjardins is a very grating character. A lot of guys don't like that you can't go up into his office and talk to him man to man. He does see you as a cog to the machine. You're a player. He's not going to get attached to you because he knows that at some point he's going to have to move on from you. And unfortunately, that's part of the business, right? And we've talked to guys who aren't necessarily biggest fans of his, and we've talked to guys too. Like, some guys like him. That's why Brad Sinop was coming back. That's why that slew of Canadian players came back. They could have found contracts anywhere they wanted to in this league.
I think the problem is, though, is that, like, Campbell's a very good players coach, but you don't need a players GM. Look how that worked out in Montreal. Didn't work out that well. I think, if you're a GM, you need to look at the books. You need to look at the numbers. You need to be a production. Your assessments, unlike coaches, need to be based off production. If there's a guy out there who is supposed to be having, a good year and is having a below average year, and there's someone out there who can do better than him and make the team better, you have to go out and get that guy. Like, it's a production. It's how the team is working. That's your job. You're supposed to make a winner. You're supposed to make a winner and not be buddy. Your personal feelings towards someone can't be wrapped up in your business feelings towards somebody.
I think there's a lot of players who are also kind of the mindset of, okay, well, I'll play for the Red Blacks. I like the city. I like the fans. We get that all the time. And then there's going to be some that don't like Marcel Desjardins, but there's also going to be, of those players, you're going to see some that'll be like, okay, well, I don't have to talk. I don't have to deal with him all that often. He takes care of my contract and stuff, and he might need to have a conversation with me every now and then, but I just got to deal with it because everything about the situation that I'd be put in Ottawa is good. And I think when you look at guys like Brad Sinopoli and a guy like Nick Arbuckle that just signed here, and a guy like Cleon Lang too, those are the kind of guys that are big fish, and they know that if they come here, they have a chance to be real stars. And it's just a favorable situation for every single one of those players to be here.
Yeah, and I mean, look at that defense, though. Like, if you look at who he brought back on the defense from the 2019 year, he didn't have to bring
Abdul
back,
Kane, baby.
But like, if Sherrod Baltimore, prime example. And if you're listening to this, sorry for using your name so much, but he didn't have the greatest year. Kevin Brown's another example of one of those guys that didn't didn't get a chance under Thorpe, but he knows what kind of talent they have and what they can bring to the team and brought them back. And that's what you want from a GM. A GM needs to have patience. And Desjardins has shown that patience. I think, honestly, if this is a regular year and Ottawa is winning their division, he's back and he's signing like a 2-3 year deal easily.
Well, I think, honestly, Shane, if I'm gonna put closure onto this in one way, I think it's going to be by saying I don't care what they do with him. They just need to decide if they're going to give him a 3 to 4 year contract now, or they need to bring somebody else in.
But they don't.
You cannot go with a 1 year contract here. That is the one thing you can't do.
Why not? You were going to do it this year.
You were going to do it this year, but that's different. You're talking about finishing a contract.
Yeah, he's just going to move, but he's moving his contract up a year. That's fine.
But I don't think that's the smartest idea right now.
Why? Why was that not the smartest idea? What value?
Because you need to give the guy the keys, or you need to get him out of the car.
So they should have fired him at the end of last season.
You could have gone that way. You could have gone that way.
Since you've already allowed him to put the team together, and you've given your vouch of we're going to let you work it out, why not have him back for another year? Considering the fact that the pool isn't that deep for replacements.
If you're going to do that, why not give him a 3 year contract? And why would you give him a 1 year deal?
Well, assuming that he's signing a 1 year deal, they might be able to push his 20 contract over, because that's still, let's be honest, that still needs to be worked out.
I doubt that's going to happen with managerial staff.
Who knows? Considering, and realistically, if you're a Desjardins, you want to take a 1 year deal. You don't want to be stuck.
Do you? Do you though? So if you're
COVID, yeah.
From a Marcel Desjardins standpoint, you go into this offseason, you got a 1 year deal. You have another disaster where you get your ass kicked again. What's going to happen to you then? Because if you have that happen to you again, you're not getting a job.
If Canvas Reed can get a job, you're getting a job. Let's just be honest here. Canvas Reed can get a job. Pretty sure you got a job.
If you have another offseason like he did in 2019, he won't be a general manager in the CFL. At least not he might be an assistant, but that's about all he'll get out of that.
I think Canvas Reed is now, I might be wrong. Let me see. Okay, so dude was I'm sorry, but I don't know. I don't know. I think he would. So I'm mistaken. Canvas Reed didn't. Who's the? Oh, it's the other guy, Ed Harvey, who used to be with what's it called? With Edmonton.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm not as confident that he gets a straight up general manager job if he has another offseason like he doesn't. To be fair, Ed Harvey didn't have the greatest year in terms of his last year with Edmonton, and he ended up in BC. Well, you're also not talking about one bad year, you're talking about two, and nobody's gonna.
Campbell came off of a dismal year and got hired within 2 weeks, and he already had people are willing to overlook your shortcomings because he's won a Grey Cup. He put together 3 Grey Cup teams. You're going to ignore all that for 2 bad years? The
difference between shortcomings and destroying a Grey Cup contending team in one offseason are quite different.
Who also wasn't that good with the players they let go.
They went 11-5, Shane.
They went 8-9-1 the year prior with Harris, Ellingson, and Powell. Let's not forget that. They went 8-9-1 back-to-back years.
So why do you bring back that whole team when they go 8-9-1, but when they go
because they were already
under contract?
Because they were under contract. You went 8-9-1 and then 11-5. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, you go. Maybe you'll probably go 11-5 again, but you went 8-9-1 with them. So Desjardins brought them back. I mean, most of them were still under contract for the previous year. But you're saying that it was a fluke that we went back-to-back years at 8-9-1 with basically the same roster?
Well, I'm saying the first
And
year. Well, sorry, Trevor
we
Harris
went-
started the majority of the games in those 2 years. I'm not a
So-
Trevor Harris guy.
So, we went 8-9-1 with Henry Burris and Trevor Harris splitting time. We won the Grey Cup. 2017, we went 8-9-1, got our ass kicked by Saskatchewan in the East semifinals. And then 2018, we went 11-5, went to the Grey Cup and got our ass handed to us by Calgary again. And then 2019, we let go of those players. Excuse me. And went like 2-14 or 2-16 or 3-15.
But it's not just about who you let go. It's about doing nothing, sitting on your hands. The biggest name they signed in that free agency was Jonathan Jennings.
Yeah, and there wasn't much of a free agency. There was, like, realistically, who would have you brought in that year outside of Jonathan Jennings?
Not much of a free agency, Shane. You talked three of the top quarterbacks in the CFL were free agents that year.
Riley was going to BC. There was no one else. Riley was going to BC, and Bo Levi basically knew, like, what made it known that it was Calgary or nowhere. It was Calgary or the NFL. He didn't want to go anywhere else. He may have entertained offers because you'd be stupid not to, but it was Calgary or nowhere. Let's be honest. And then you had Trevor Harris. You can also I didn't really care for Trevor Harris. I don't think he's that good.
Neither do I.
So, like,
we know
outside of that, who do you replace Harris with?
But you also look at, like, do I think Dominique Davis could have been a good quarterback? 100%. We've talked about this before. I think Davis has all the tools to be a good quarterback. He's got the mobility, he's got the arm strength, and I think his accuracy is
Why
there.
aren't we? The bigger question should be, why didn't they? Who said no to bringing in an OC? Right. Who? Because
I think part of the issue too was also the fact that Jamie Elizondo is Jamie. Like are we gonna get on the Jamie Elizondo like train here? Because
I hate him. I don't think he's that good.
I hate him too.
I'm not the biggest fan of him.
Shane's blind.
I need to go. My lighting is off, so I need to go turn on one of my lights a little bit later. But him leaving. Let's be honest. Him leaving when he did was, and then them just deciding not to bring in an OC was dumb. Yeah, I think that hurt the team more than whatever kind of however you want to grade the free agency, because you still had a lot of returning players.
Yeah.
You had Moses Madu, you had Sinopoli, you had RJ Harris. Like, you had a lot of these returning guys who were still part of that 11-5 team. You had that entire offensive line, basically. So you're going to tell me that losing...
Other than Sir Vincent Rogers.
Yeah, but he stopped. Like, it's the same with John Gott, right? Like, but you're going to tell me that losing Powell, Harris, and Ellingson, your third receiver, debatable for Ellingson, your number one back and your number one quarterback who, like, Powell was decent, but he had injury problems. That's his biggest knock. He hasn't been able to stay healthy.
That seems like the Red Blacks seem to like to bring in ex-NFL running backs who are really good but get hurt all the time.
So, like, weigh your options there. Is letting Powell, when Powell's healthy, great, but is he going to be healthy? So, like, pros and cons there. And then, is losing Harris really that bad? He didn't really do well in Edmonton. He had a so-so year in Edmonton. Ellingson, if you actually watch Ellingson that last half of the year in 2018, he looked like he was on the decline. He looked like a guy who should have been a third or fourth receiver. He had a really good year in Edmonton, and you know what? Good for him. But let's not pretend that, like, these guys didn't show. And I mean, Sir Vincent Rogers was hurt, so it's kind of hard to really really make an argument for losing him or not keeping him. So you're going to tell me that, like, your starting five were on your roster last year. You didn't bring anyone new in.
You also lost Josue Matias right at the stroke of midnight before the season started as well. He retired.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not really a big of a loss.
It was, because he was supposed to be the starting left tackle to start the year.
Yeah, and then Court just filled in and did a decent job at it. But still, it wasn't that big of a loss. Like, Court did relatively well. Let's not say that he didn't. Like, he did. Dominic Davis was on that roster the year prior. So you bring in Jonathan Jennings. Davis had a really good camp. He had a strong preseason. And then you win your first 2 games. You were riding, so you were showing that you can win. What happened after week 2? Where did it all go wrong?
Okay, so here's a little bit of my theory. The first 2 weeks of the season, Dominic Davis was healthy. And, as much as he struggled with interceptions in the Calgary game, he found a way to win that football game.
There were some of them that were some receivers' faults too.
Right, but the stats don't look pretty. But if you look at box score and his rushing stats, he saved the game with his rushing. In week 2 against the Saskatchewan Riders, he dominated the Riders, a team that eventually would go on to fall a goalpost short of the Grey Cup game. Sorry, Riders fans, but Cody Fajardo, face down on the ground. That stopped him from going in that game. There was a play where Dominic Davis got hit on the sidelines where he ran out of bounds and one of the Riders players leaned his shoulder into them, and then Davis kind of went crashing into the bench. If you remember, after that game, he didn't look the same. They put him on the injured reserve with a high ankle sprain. He came back. He wasn't great again. And then as he went on the 6-game injured list, came back at the end of the season. He looked really friggin' good. Yeah. I think, we've talked about it before, I think Dominic Davis could be a legitimate quarterback in the CFL. This year just did not help him. As we've heard from Sherrod Baltimore and Jonathan Rose, not having an offensive coordinator and having to learn an entire new offensive playbook right before the season started did not help them. And then if you look at him at the end of the year, it was like leaps and bounds from the middle of the year. It looked like he knew the playbook. He knew where the ball was going to go. He's got the arm strength. He's got the accuracy. He was hitting guys. And, he was running where he had to as well.
Let's be honest. And this is going to get a lot of heat. Arbuckle wasn't guaranteed the starting spot this year.
No.
Let's be honest. He was paid and he's QB1 on the depth chart. He's penciled in as QB1. But he's not he's not guaranteed that spot. And I think that's kind of, where fans need to realize that Davis could have won that starting spot.
So I think we're at the point though where we've kind of shifted away from that. And if you want to get into this really quick too, let's do it. Do you bring back Dominic Davis?
He's already, if he's willing to, yeah. I think because again, there's so much of unknown right now in terms of roster construction of how next year is going to go. Are our contracts going to be pushed forward? Are there going to be ways where players can play 2021 under their 2020 contract and stuff like that? And that's stuff that needs to be figured out. So, realistically, looking at the options, you're probably better off bringing him back outside of there's not really many other options out there. Yeah, he's a year older, but whatever. He's been, and I think one of the big reasons is he's played under LaPolice. He knows LaPolice's system. And
that's something I was interested for too, because you look at how he ran that system in Winnipeg with Zach Collaros and Chris Streveler,
and even Nichols before he got hurt.
Yeah, I think it was less so Nichols, but more so a focus on taking the pressure off of Collaros, because Collaros really isn't that good anymore. But
I think he's just injury prone. If you take away his injuries,
he'd be one of the best quarterbacks.
If he can stay healthy, he's the top 3 quarterback. He's behind, in my opinion, he would be behind Bo Levi and Riley.
Yeah, but Dominic Davis brings some of those same strengths that Chris Streveler does. Mine is probably the bulldozing ability. I'd say I don't think Davis has that, but he does have the speed to the outside. That I don't think Streveler's the fastest guy on the planet. He just runs guys over. So it would have been interesting to see how that went.
He's both.
Right, but I think if you had a foot race, I would be interested to see who would win between Davis and Streveler.
Oh, 100%. I think it would be Davis.
That's what I'm I think Davis is probably the faster quarterback. Plus, I think if you want to really compare Davis's arm to Streveler's arm, I think Davis has a much stronger arm.
Probably. But, this is going to be a question and this is going to be a topic until whatever. Because, there's so many unknowns right now with the CFL season for 2021.
Yeah.
So, we have a good idea. Like, if you're a free agent, would you not want to go back to the team that had you in 2020? Like, realistically, how beneficial would it be to not re-sign with a club?
It depends. Like, if you're, I don't know. Who's a good example? Who do we take?
Kevin Brown or Sherrod Baltimore. They both signed, I think, 1 year deals. Would it not be beneficial for you to sign a 1 year deal with Ottawa versus seeing what Toronto or Montreal or Calgary have to offer?
Okay, so let's take since we've been picking on Sherrod Baltimore this whole time, we'll go with him again. You're Sherrod Baltimore. If I'm him, I'm treating this free agency the same as I would any other, and maybe for him he's got a little bit of a hometown discount for Ottawa because he's been here so long and he loves it here and everything. But if Toronto's going to pay me significantly more than Ottawa will, I'm going.
But they're probably not, right?
It's a case-by-case basis, though.
But the idea of the cap going down, let's be honest, if the cap goes down to like $4 million, like it's projected, we're going to have some issues.
Right, so but it's not like Ottawa can all of a sudden still pay you what they used to as well. They've got to come down on that number as well.
Agreed. But if you're looking at a team that has most of its most of its players locked up, players are going to have to take a discount if they want to play. You have the XFL that might be back.
The money's not going to be what it was before coming out of this.
Like, you're going to have, the XFL is still going to be there. It really depends. Because, The Rock and whatnot are still very much talking about getting the XFL up and running. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, that sounds like we've talked about that with Derek Dennis before, and we won't bug him about that again. But it's on our list of podcasts, so I think you can scroll down, find that one, and Derek Dennis had some interesting stuff on there. You have to you can't just look for the word Derek Dennis. He's been on 4 times, so
yeah, he's a friend of the show.
Yeah. Shane, do you have any more about that, or do you want to go to our?
Oh man,
I think we'll run a little bit. We had about 45 minutes this morning, so we can run a little bit shorter tonight too.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna jump right into this. We'll start off with the Steelers Broncos game because we got a Canadian talent up in there with Chase Claypool, man, with Mapletron. He has this merch out. We'll post a link to it, but he has his merch out, pretty sick, using the Mapletron and Chase Claypool style. Honestly, they're great. I like the look of them. So my biggest issue is the giant double C at the back of some of their gear. I don't really mess with that. But we'll run this clip, and if you haven't seen it already, you're missing out. So
this is the second big Chase Claypool catch that we've talked about in as many weeks too. By the way,
yeah, he almost steps out of bounds, and he just goes 84 yards. He had 88 yards. He had 3 receptions for 88 yards. 84 of them came in this one play.
I want to talk about too. There's a picture from that touchdown of him celebrating with the empty crowd in the background. And I think in 20 years, we're going to look back at this and that picture is going to be one of those things you look at and you're like, oh my God, remember that year where we played with no fans in the stands?
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because this game was a lot closer than it should have been. Stupid penalties. Passing it literally seemed like every time they threw the ball, there was a pass interference play. It was stupid. It was frustrating.
Well, I heard today at practice they actually had NFL referees there so they could stop taking penalties.
Yeah, because they had 5 or 14 points came off of extended drives due to pass interference.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's stupid things that you don't want to see. I'm happy we got rid of them we got them in week 2 and not week 17. Because that would have been even more frustrating. We were able to get out the W. Defense came up big. But you know.
Shane, we'll save that clip tomorrow because we're joined by Urinating Tree tomorrow, which I am so excited about. So a little bit of a teaser there. If you know who Urinating Tree is, he will be on with us tomorrow at about 6, I think is the time we agreed to. But we'll put out something official about that. So yeah, he's a Steelers fan, fantastic YouTuber. I'm so excited to talk to him, Shane. I'm thrilled that he said yes. And he's a Steelers fan, so he'll be able to tell you how wrong you are.
What?
Yeah. He'll be able to tell you how wrong you are. Also,
about what?
Everything.
He's a Steelers fan too. I don't see why he'd say I'm wrong about everything.
He's a Steelers fan, but he also hates the Steelers.
What? How?
Yeah. Just you'll figure it out. But I also want to point out I want to plug the article I wrote about Chase Claypool and how he's the next Canadian to be a star in the NFL.
He's probably the only Canadian to be a star in the NFL.
Well, I mean, we've seen guys in the past.
Like who?
There's names like Laurent Duvernay-Tardif has been.
He's not okay. I got into an argument with Dave Naylor about this a couple earlier in the year about him being a star. He might be a star, but he's definitely not a superstar.
No, but I also never made the claim for superstar.
But he's also like borderline star. He's replaceable.
Can you say Cameron Wake?
He's not Canadian.
Is Cameron Wake not Canadian?
No, he just played in the CFL. He played 2 years for BC. Well,
fine.
Like there hasn't really been a Canadian superstar in the NFL that I can think of. You know, we've had great players play in the CFL. We've had good Canadians play in the NFL, but you know, no superstar talent. Claypool, on the other hand, could be a legit number 1 receiver.
I think he's going to get to that point. Like, I made the comparison of him to Mike Evans, and the more that I watch him, the more that I think that comparison makes sense. You know, he's got the big stature, he's got the weight, he's got the speed to match it. You know, I think he has that potential.
His closest, from what I've seen of him, his closest his height, his ceiling, like his floor is Mike Evans. His ceiling.
Okay, let's slow down a little bit there.
No.
Mike Evans hasn't had a season yet where he hasn't put up 1,000 yards in his career.
That's Claypool's floor.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes just a little bit.
No. Let me explain why. He has the size, the speed, the if he can kind of get away from the drops, he can be a red zone threat easily. He has the height. You know, he could hit. For me personally, his floor is Mike Evans, one of the best receivers in the NFL. You know, consistently top 5 in receiving yards. But Mike Evans doesn't get you touchdowns. He's not his touchdown rate isn't, you know, as high as you would think. And that's just the way it is when you have the kind of weapons that is around Tampa and a Bruce Arians offense. But you look at how Chase Claypool plays and you watch Calvin Johnson, they are so similar, it's scary. Mapletron makes sense because he looks a lot like Calvin Johnson when he plays. And that, I think, is his ceiling.
You have to be very careful making that comparison, though, because I talk about this on my hockey show all the time. I hate these comparisons because you get compared to a superstar, and then all of a sudden people think you're a superstar, right? It's not that easy, right? If you tell people he's Megatron, he's not. He's
not. But if you want to look at his potential, where he could end up, he could be in the same discussion as one of those 50-50 guys who can beat you anywhere on the field. It's like Julio Jones, you know, he has that capability of being a game-breaking receiver. And the fact that he plays, if he bulks up a little bit, because he's not overly big, like he's relatively lanky in terms of Julio Jones and Calvin Johnson. If he were to put on some muscle, he would be a better version of Antonio Brown. like a lot better version of Antonio Brown.
Now, quickly before we get to one of the plays from the Buffalo game that I want to talk about, who's the other guy right now that the other Canadian receiver that's also been a high pick? It's N'Keal Harry in New England. And to me, if it's a race to see which one of them becomes a star first, it's Chase Claypool. And I think a lot of that has to do with N'Keal Harry has a quarterback who can't throw. Or can't throw as well as Ben Roethlisberger can.
I mean, I think it's also the fact that, he probably won't get put into a position to succeed right away. That kind of seems to be Bill Belichick's kind of mottos. You have to earn your playing time.
Yep.
I mean, doesn't seem like he's getting much reps. So I wouldn't really. He started 7 games in 2019. Had 105 yards in 7 games with 2 TDs. He had started 1 game for 35 yards in 2020.
Yeah. Well, the Patriots did use a first-round pick on him, too, so it's not like they're going to let him go by the wayside or anything. They're going to do everything they can to make him a usable NFL player. To be fair,
it's also, it takes a while for receivers to get comfortable in a Belichick system.
Yeah.
Tomlin has a very friendly receiving system.
Now, speaking of receivers, Shane, and amazing throws, we're going to go to this video from the Bills game where Josh Allen figured out how to throw a deep ball. We'll roll that right here.
Man, you're talking about a dirty deep ball. This one's a dirty deep ball. This one just looks weird.
This pass is something that Josh Allen doesn't typically make. It's something that he'll either overthrow or he doesn't have an underthrowing issue, I don't think, but he's got such a cannon of an arm. That was a beautiful throw.
Yeah. I know we were talking about, I'm gonna replay this Mapletron one because you were saying that this one is ugly. Let's be honest. This one is not ugly. This one is perfect. Because I don't know,
just his arm motion looks funky to me. I don't know what it is.
Well, yeah, because he had his that's his throwing arm that he had surgery on. But you want to talk about his Claypool's just drops right in for him. Whoever made this touchdown had to readjust.
John Brown. I mean, if you want to talk about a readjustment, the dude threw the ball 55 yards. If there's a slight readjustment, I'm not too upset.
You're going to talk about ugly. Dropped it right in the basket for him.
Hey, well, Big Ben's been in the league for a long time. Okay.
04.
Josh Allen's still a young buck, making throws like that. Josh Allen, I don't want to hear this slander anymore of Josh Allen sucks, okay?
But it's true.
It's not, though. Have you seen the group that he's in now?
For what? What?
More than 700 yards with more than 7 touchdowns and no interceptions in the first 2 weeks of the season?
See, I feel like that's just nitpicking stats. Personally, stuff that, it's just nitpicking. You're finding things to make him sound important.
Okay, well, let's look where he's at in terms of touchdown-interception ratio right now.
Well, actually, I know. I'm not denying that he's had a good start to the season, but I think things like that, just you're nitpicking.
The Josh Allen slander stops here because Josh Allen's here, baby. And I played Josh Allen in fantasy this week, and it did not go very well for me.
Yeah, my fantasy team shot the bed.
As far as other games that we have to talk about too, Shane.
Let's see. Okay, to be fair, Allen is first in yards.
Yep.
With 792 or 729.
By the way, you're looking at a guy right now who before the first 2 games of the season never thrown a 300-yard game in his life. And now he's got a 300 and a 400.
70.4% a completion percentage, which is decent.
It's really good for him.
He's averaging his first 2 games 364.5 yards a game. Average throw is 9 yards. 6 TDs. 0 interceptions. He's a TD rate of 7.4. The longest of 47.
Which was the one that we just watched.
Yeah, and then he has a yak yards of 2. So 205 of his yards have been by yak. He's been sacked 4 times. He's fumbled twice.
He has.
And lost both of them. That's rough.
Well, that's not true.
According to the stats, he's
no,
lost
you're right.
So you can argue with TSN about that.
So those both happened in week 1. And they happened because he didn't want to slide. And in week 2, every time he rolled out, he was sliding. Or except for that one time where he bulldozed that guy, but that's a different story.
No, he's put up pretty good. But yeah, we have a couple of other games to talk about for last week. Some interesting games.
I know exactly where we're gonna go first, and
the Raiders Saints.
No, Cowboys Falcons.
Oh my god, that game! I was at work, but it was so quiet. I was able to watch it. Oh man, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up this clip of that last play because oh my god, we're gonna have to come back to this game. We're gonna have to come back to this game. Give me a second.
I know exactly what play you're talking about, but let's. I guess we can talk quickly about the game that we saw last night with the Raiders and the Saints, and that game to me was disappointing for the Saints. Like when that happened, and you lose to the Raiders as a team that you're competing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you're competing with Tom Brady for that division. You can't let that game get away from you. You have to finish that game right then and there. Right? You cannot leave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers any chance. Because I think the Bucs are probably going to win their next 2 to 3 games. Pretty easily. The fact that you've opened the door to them now is not good.
Yeah, but I think we're also not crediting let's give the Raiders some credit here.
Sure.
They picked on Javar, they picked on Jenkins.
By the way, the set of balls on John Gruden for kicking that field goal at the end of the game is that takes a lot of guts to do that. Because if you miss that field goal, all of a sudden you've given Drew Brees 2 minutes and 50 yards. You're not getting out of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just let's give let's give Raiders credit. They won that game fair and square. They may have beat themselves. The Saints may have beat themselves up a little bit, shot themselves in the foot a couple of times, but they deserve to. They deserve to lose that game. Raiders deserve to win it.
Also, Dakota's dropped in just to give us a little bit of telling us that Brady is super overrated, which I'll agree with. Tom Brady stinks. But that being said, Dakota, I mean, the guy is still Tom Brady. He'll pull some miracle out of his ass somehow. Yeah, I have confidence in that, if anything else.
Yeah, you can't really take away from Tom Brady right now.
It's tough. That Buccaneers team's good too. I think you can put it on the back of Leonard Fournette if you need to win a game that way.
Yeah, I was so pissed. Yeah, I wasn't sure how many reps he was going to get, so I put him on the sideline, and God forbid he blows up.
Now, one thing, Shane, remember when we all pointed and laughed at Gronkowski for coming out of retirement because we knew he wasn't going to be as good?
Yeah.
Dude's not got it anymore.
No, he shouldn't have come. And I mean, I think part of me is it's 2 weeks, no training camp. He's probably a little bit rusty. He's still learning the offense, which 100% could be the case. And with that being said, they're so powerful at tight end. He's unneeded.
Now, is it Belichick the reason that the Patriots were good?
100%. I've been saying this for years. Brady is a system quarterback, and unless he can go win somewhere else, it's not. And I hope for the love of God that it's a tight race between the Bills and the Patriots for the division.
No.
And I hope that the Patriots get into the playoffs and make it further than the Bucks. Because if he can take Cam Newton, and they don't even have to win the Super Bowl, they don't. They just have to get further than the Bucks. I think it cements that Brady is a system quarterback and he's not the GOAT.
It's really odd that Brady did this, though. Don't you think? Like, I don't know if it was to prove that he's better than Belichick or whatever.
Oh, 100%.
This could only end badly for Tom Brady.
100% it was to prove that he was better than Belichick. 100% it was to prove that he's the reason why they won 6 rings and not Belichick.
But you could go into retirement being... all you have to say is, like, look, you can't prove that I wasn't the reason.
Yeah,
like,
but
I'm the reason that we won,
Brady's ego would not allow him to just retire and allow people to say that. He wanted to go out and prove that I am better than Belichick. I am the GOAT, and not because of the coach. But this just shows, like, if all you need is 1 year, and if Belichick can take Newton and make him into a playoff quarterback again, and it's game over for Brady.
It's going to be tough for Cam Newton too, and it's going to be even more impressive if Belichick takes that team to the playoffs because, well, if he does anything in the playoffs, I expect that team to be that number 7 team into the playoffs. Right now.
Honestly, if they played that a little bit better at the end of the Seahawks game, they could have won it. I
just think that they aren't, on paper at least. I think Buffalo is better. I think they will struggle.
But we've seen teams who aren't as good, like Belichick teams, not as good, still win.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, it might be a little bit harder now because the Bills are actually a good team. Who would have thought?
You also look at it, and the Patriots never had to worry about a divisional opponent. Ever.
No, they were basically
a walk in the park.
6 wins a year.
Right. So now that you're looking at, you got to play Buffalo twice, whose defense shouldn't have too much of an issue shutting down Cam Newton. You would think, on paper at least, assuming you've got your linebackers healthy. It's going to be interesting because I think the Patriots are going to have to take a wild card spot to get into the playoffs.
See, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. I think they could fight for the division.
Let's just say they're not beating Buffalo twice this year.
No, but they don't have to. They just need to beat Buffalo. They need to win more games than Buffalo does. Well, that's all they need to do.
I know.
But
I don't know. I think it's tough. I think the Bills are here, to be honest with you. And it's not just me saying that because I'm a Bills fan. This team is good. This team's good.
And I think you also need to just, like, you can't, just like how you can't discredit Brady, you can't discredit Belichick, right?
No,
and I think saying that, Belichick this, or sorry, this comment from Dakota's funny.
Yeah, I already pulled that one up.
It's just like, I don't know. I feel like if you're facing New England, you have to out coach Belichick. You don't have to beat Brady. And honestly, out of any year, this is the perfect year for the Patriots to shit the bed. They've lost most of their defensive starters due to opting out. Like, if you look at this paper at this team on paper, for them to miss the playoffs, no one's going to question it. They're going to be like, well, yeah, their team wasn't that good on paper.
Hey, by the way, if I was Tom Brady and the Patriots showed me those uniforms they're wearing this year, I would tell them I'm not playing for them anymore too.
I love those uniforms. I think they're fantastic.
Those white ones are terrible.
I mean, I don't like the white on white look, but I don't like that look to begin with.
They wore white on blue. They don't have a white on white.
I thought they had a white on white. I thought they dropped the white on white.
No.
Oh man, I'm just going crazy.
Nope, I hate those. Those are ugly.
I like them. I think they're sick.
Do we have the clip from the Falcons game yet?
I'm just uploading it. Hopefully it uploads.
Okay.
But
that game, what was the score? The Falcons were up by, like 20 points again, right?
I think they were up like something. I know for a fact they came back from like a 15-point deficit to win. But
it was more than that. I think the Atlanta Falcons have the now 28-3 curse going again. And it's hilarious because those pictures are popping up again because the Atlanta Falcons don't know how to hold on to a lead.
Nope. And give Dak Prescott and co man, give them credit on that. So yeah, we have the clip. We'll run it right now. So you see this onside kick. You would think that they knew what they were doing. This is a prime example of a players not knowing the rules of the sport that they play in.
But that's it, right? Like the Falcons, all they have to do there is jump on that football and don't lose it. Right? The second they touch it, now Dallas can touch it. And I think that might have been their concern. Because that
just jump on it.
You think so.
Because the minute it hit 10 yards, it's live ball.
Right. And that's what's confusing. I think they may have been afraid that they were going to touch it and Dallas was going to pick it up.
Who cares? I'd much rather risk that than risk it going 10 yards and then being able to pick it up anyways.
Yeah. It's the way that they did that onside kick too was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen an onside kick done this way.
Yeah, so it's on the ground.
If you can't tell there, normally the ball would be put in the tee. It wasn't in the tee. It was laying down sideways on the ground.
Can we talk about the fact that they did touch it?
Did they?
Yeah, if you watch the end, I think it's number 41. Oh, no, number 17, I believe. Oh, yeah, I know it's 41. One of them, 17 or 41, jumps at it, and they touch it first.
You're right. But it was after 10 yards anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, because he touches it before 10 yards.
His hand was right on it at 10 yards. If you see this, his hand,
the 45.
His hand comes in right at the 45 to touch this. Right there. That's 10 yards.
So but it's just at the 10, but it has to go past 10 yards, not just at 10 yards. But the fact that they still touched it, they got a hand on it and they lost it, it's a joke.
Can you roll that one more time?
Are a joke.
Can you roll it one more time?
Like
who is it 40 or it's this
it's this guy. It's 7
right there. I can't number 87 or 30. I can't tell what his number is there, but he needs to jump on that football. And if I was Dan Quinn, I don't know who that guy is. I don't know what significance he serves to your football team because I can't see his number clearly. He might not be on my football team next week.
Yeah, I don't get it. This is friggin' Bush League. It's amateur. You learn this stuff in like Pee Wee. Not even. You learn it in friggin' Pop Warner. Jump on the ball. It's not that hard.
As a direct result of that, you lose this football game. And instead of being 1-1, now you're 0-2
in a division that
you're the only team that doesn't have a because
no, Carolina doesn't have a win. They lost.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, but who else in that division? Why don't I remember?
Tampa and the Saints. So
you're done.
All three. Luckily the Saints didn't win because if the Saints won, you're screwed. I think the fact that your two teams are 1-1. And if you look, I'll pull it up. We have our week 3 matchups. Saints are playing Green Bay. Buccaneers are playing Denver. So that's an easy win. Or should be an easy win for Tampa. And then you're playing the Bears, which are friggin' 2-0. So if you can beat the Bears and hope for the fact that the Saints lose to the Bucks or to the Packers, and you're fighting with that second spot, that's your only hope. But if you fall to 0-3, you're done. You're done for.
Yeah, I kind of think already that the Falcons are done. And it's amazing that a team with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones
and Calvin Ridley.
Right. I don't know.
How do you score 37 points or 39 points and still lose?
How do you be up by 20 points and still lose, and then also in the Super Bowl be up 28-3 and lose?
I don't know.
That franchise is
a joke.
It's a joke.
So we're gonna hear the scores of the game of all the weeks. I think the upset of the week.
We don't have
has to
the
be-
Saints score there yet, but
oh yeah, I forgot to put the Saints score.
but the Saints lost. The Saints are 1-1. The Raiders are 2-0 as well.
I think the upset has to be the Colts beating the Vikings. Or even the Chargers coming close to beating the Chiefs.
That's what I'm going to say. Like, I think it's a bigger upset that the Chargers went to overtime with the Chiefs than it is the Colts beating the Vikings.
Oh man, I'm going to see. I've been so busy with everything else. I haven't got clips ready. But we'll talk a little bit about the Colts, Vikings, and then we'll jump to the Chiefs.
I'm gonna bring the scores back up too. Is there anything on here that particularly surprised you?
Honestly,
as far as just a score standpoint,
the score. Yeah, I mean the Denver Steelers game. I thought it was going to be a runaway for the Steelers, but no, I was kind of surprised with how little points was put up in total for the Bears Giants game.
I mean, you picked the Giants, which honestly, I'll be honest, Shane, that was kind of stupid.
Not at all. Not at all. I don't I still barely trust Trubinsky.
Fair.
That I liked what that offense was doing for the Giants. I honestly think that if we don't see Barkley get hurt, I think they could have won that game.
For me, I think the one score that surprises me is probably the Browns putting up 35.
But honestly. It shouldn't. With that kind of offense, it should be almost weekly that they're putting up that. When you have OBJ, and I think I have that. I might have to. I'm gonna give me 1 second. I'm gonna put up that clip because I have it.
Don't tell me it's the clip of what the girl said about him.
I don't know. What did they say about her?
Oh, you don't want to hear about this? Is a.
Oh, is it about him shitting on people?
Yeah, this is not stream safe.
Yeah, no, I don't have that clip. I actually have his touchdown. I mean, I posted it onto Twitter and whatnot. But if we're gonna look at that game is ridiculous. OBJ, even Mayfield was making work on that.
Yeah, I kind of hate the Cleveland Browns just because of how inept they are. So, they kind of bother me. Also, Kevin Biggio just hit a home run, so
that sucks for him.
What do you mean that sucks for him?
But yeah, no, the fact that they shouldn't. It shouldn't be weird to see Cleveland getting that many points, considering the fact that they have that kind of offense.
I don't think we'll see that again this year.
But we should, and that's the problem.
But I don't think Baker Mayfield's that good. I don't think that team is very good. It's a shame that Cleveland has to suffer the way they do, but it is what it is at this point. They're just not good.
I mean, I don't think Josh Allen's that good.
Well, you're wrong.
Yeah, well, that's how you're wrong about Mayfield.
Maybe like I said in my article, maybe it's more about the franchise's ineptitude. When I wrote about Josh Rosen coming to the CFL, it's a topic that we'll discuss at a later day. But
no, Josh Rosen.
Actually, we'll pitch that to our guest tomorrow.
Josh Rosen was overrated, and he went into a bad situation. Let's be honest. He went into a miserable situation
twice.
He was drafted into a horrible situation.
Yep.
By the Cardinals, and then put into a really bad situation for the Dolphins. I'm not surprised that it didn't work out for him.
Yeah. Neither am I. Do you want to get into? We'll do our picks now. Do you want to do that? If we don't have anything else to talk about from
I think
last week's slate of games,
we still have to talk about the Chiefs and whatnot.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that game, that Chiefs, the fact that it went to overtime was ridiculous.
I'm surprised that Harrison Butker nailed 3 kicks in a row. I thought for sure he was going to miss a third one.
I'm surprised that he hit 2 from 58 yards in one game.
Yeah.
Like, that was surprising to me.
I thought he would miss the third one. I thought he could have stayed out there and probably, after he kicked the third one, he probably could have just hit about 11 or 12 more in a row.
Probably. It would not have surprised me.
So
I think it was kind of, you heard that it sounds like Tyrod Taylor's still the starting quarterback.
Yep.
What do you think of that? Because that's something we need to talk about.
Well, okay, so Shane, I'm gonna bring you back to your point about, I believe it was you in the past who has said you shouldn't lose your starting job because of an injury.
100%.
Do you stand by that here?
100%.
You think so?
I also think, as much as I like what he did, what Herbert did, I also think it's better off to for him and his development to not to know that we're not going to rush you into a game situation. Like, if Taylor's hurt, unless you come out and actually show us that you can start, if they're winning, let's say, because I know Tyrod's week to week, so let's say he's continuously week to week. Next week he gets to start, he wins. Week 4 he gets to start, he wins. You're going to tell me that you're going to take out a winning quarterback? No. If he's losing, it's different.
Here's my concern. The Chargers just went toe-to-toe with the Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, because their defense should be able to handle it.
Possibly the best team in the NFL that we've seen in a long friggin' time. The best team. Yeah,
possibly.
The best team. You went toe-to-toe with them. You lost in overtime in a game. Could have won. We know what Tyrod Taylor is. And Tyrod Taylor is nothing better than a fringe starter at best.
100%.
You can't make the argument that he took the Bills to the playoffs because he didn't. They finished, 8-8?
Yeah, but he did enough not to lose some games.
But that's... You have an elite defense right now.
Wasn't that the year that they, LaShawn McCoy went, or someone went, 0 for, was my -3 on the year in rushing yards?
I know. I can't remember who it was, but there was somebody that was like that. The only reason they got in is because
the Browns beat the Ravens.
Andy Dalton beat the Ravens, right? So you can't make the argument that Tyrod Taylor led the Bills to the playoffs because they didn't. It was their defense. You know what Tyrod Taylor is at this point. Don't throw away a chance because you want Justin Herbert to sit on the bench. The guy just went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes and almost came out on top.
100%.
Let him play. Let him play.
But I also think it'd be stupid to be like, oh yeah, you're no longer our starting quarterback due to an injury.
But
it's Herbert's. It's basically saying that Herbert needs to win and produce to win the starting job. It's basically saying that if Herbert doesn't produce, he's not going to continue to be our starter. If Taylor comes back and if let's say they're 0-4, let's say he's out 2 weeks and they're 0-4, and Herbert looks average the next 2 weeks, they're going to put Taylor in. It's just that simple.
Right. But you're talking about a guy who came this close to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Granted, team effort, right? It was not just Justin Herbert. But you're looking at Tyrod Taylor, a guy whose biggest strength is not throwing interceptions. He's not going to win you a game with his arm. He's not going to win you a game with his legs. He's just going to put you in a position put your defense in a position to win it. The only reason they aren't going to overtime against the Cincinnati Bengals last week is because, what's his face? Randy Bullock hamstring tightens up on a field goal attempt. That's the reason you're not going to overtime. Tyrod Taylor did not play well in that game.
No, but again, and that's the thing is that Herbert's not just going to be given the reins. He's going to have to earn it. And if he's not playing well, he's not going to get it. If he's out, I'm just going to use 2 weeks as an example. If he's out those 2 weeks, and Herbert wins those 2 weeks. Let's say by week 5 they're 2-2. there's no reason to go back to Taylor. But if they're
No.
by week 5 and they're 0-4, and Herbert isn't showing signs of like he can play now, you're going to go back to Taylor. You're not just going to keep him in if he's
Okay,
not.
so I'm gonna quickly pull up our schedule for next week here. Where do we got the Chargers here? The Chargers playing the Panthers.
That's going to be a good game. Bridgewater, like that defense. I mean, personally,
Also, the Chargers are 1-1, not 0-2. You have them at 0-2 here.
Okay, well, I'll fix that real quick after the show.
I got sharp eyes, Shane.
What?
I got sharp eyes here. Don't be testing.
I don't. Oh yeah, I do have them. I don't know. I honestly zone out. I've been doing these for so long that I kind of just zone out when I do some and I miss some things. That's why I have you around to kind of make up for it. But
I think, I mean, you can't call anything an easy win anymore. I think the Raiders proved us that. But I think Herbert is your guy until he proves that he isn't at this point, to be honest. Like, I don't think nothing Tyrod Taylor brings to the table is going to wow you unless Herbert goes out here and throws 11 interceptions a game.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though, is that, like, you need – like, he needs to outplay himself to win the starting job. It's just that simple. He's not going to be handed the starting job. He's not going to be given the reins right away.
No.
But we also have to talk about those injuries.
Oh, there's been a bunch.
Like McCaffrey,
Mostert,
Barkley, Bosa.
Did Jimmy Garoppolo get hurt?
Yeah, he's out week to week.
Drew Lock is done for a while.
Yeah, he's out, I think, like 3 to 4 weeks or something like that.
Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds in Buffalo were both injured. Don't know where they stand.
Luckily, Pittsburgh is safe.
Well, they did lose James Conner in week 1 for a little bit. I mean,
but he came back, right? So
he's
safe.
It's so hard for me because I think my Buffalo pick is going to change depending on what happens with the news there. For now, I'm assuming one of them is coming back, and I'm going to probably end up picking Buffalo here to beat the Rams. But if we get the news that both of those players aren't coming back, I'm switching my pick. That's just how this is going to work. I'm just giving you a heads up right now.
I mean, I'm taking the Rams anyways.
Well,
someone
doesn't have the confidence I do.
Oh, someone's realistic.
It's not, but Shane, I think you're also kind of putting this year's Bills in the category of the Bills 4 years ago.
No, I just think that the Rams overall are a better team than the Bills.
I don't buy that.
Well, that's why they're going head to head, right?
Actually, that's not why. It's because their schedule says they have to go.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see if which one actually holds up.
Hopefully, we actually get to see because, like I said, if Edmonds and Milano aren't there, the Rams are just going to use the middle of the field and just torment the Bills with it all day. And that's exactly what the Dolphins did. That's why the game between the Bills and the Dolphins was so close. But
I mean, also that I feel like that power outage had a lot to do with it. Yeah,
it was a lightning delay.
But wasn't there power?
And there was a power outage in the CBS truck. That game was a disaster, man.
I thought there was a power outage. I remember there being a whole thing about it being like,
yeah, they lost. It was almost 12 minutes of game time that they missed.
Oh, wow. That's ridiculous.
That's too much. I was upset. I was very upset. Because they turned on the Steelers game, and I'm like, I don't want to watch the goddamn Steelers.
Well, you should have. It was a great game.
No. The Bills game was a pretty good game, too, to be honest with you.
I finally got the clips because I've been so busy making graphics that I totally forgot that I'm the only one doing videos. And I totally forgot that so much things happened and Frankie didn't remind me. So sorry, we will get the hang of this. I promise you. It's only our second one technically. So we will get the hang of this. I promise you that.
What clip are we about to watch here?
It will be one of the OBJ. It should be the OBJ touchdown.
Okay.
If it ever loads, it's taking forever to load.
There we go. Also,
it's not the OBJ touchdown, but it's when it's just him getting work, like this move, like this cutback and spin. It's just this is what you saw in New York, and this is what if the Browns want to be successful, that's what they need to get to. They need to get going to win games.
Do you think the Browns trade Odell?
I don't think so.
I know
I think
about a
they
week ago we were talking about the Browns are looking to possibly move Odell Beckham Jr.
I think it's stupid if they did. I think those are rumors created by media. But here's the touchdown, real quick. Man, I don't understand. They need to get Mayfield moving more. It's where he's successful, but just this
A
throw.
lot of this too comes from the fact that the Bengals, the Bengals defense is not good.
No, but we need to. Okay, we really need to stop with this whole. Oh, it was just the Bengals. Oh, it was just the Giants.
Oh, I'm not saying it's just the Bengals
Like-
because anything out of Baker Mayfield at this point is a positive sign. You know,
Like-
he went last year. He was terrible.
Yeah, but he also had like 4 coaches in 3 years.
Right. But
So,
seeing
like, how much
anything
of
out
that-
of Baker Mayfield at this point though is promising for Browns fans.
100%. But I feel
that
like
was a really good throw on the run. I'll give him that.
like I think it's also kind of naive and wrong to place all this blame on Mayfield when he's had such like when you have to learn a new offense every offseason. Name me one quarterback that will succeed learning a new offense every single offseason.
I'm absolutely not blaming Baker for the shortcomings in Cleveland.
Like
by the way,
he has had such bad luck.
Yeah.
Do
you have any more clips we want to show off, or do you want to?
Yeah. So since we're talking about Herbert, I got his first touchdown. Also, love the Chargers unis.
I will say, the gold pants are hideous. The white pants are nice.
But like, I want them to wear the baby blue. But we saw that scamper, and then later we saw this beautiful dart to the end zone. I like Herbert. I'm high on Herbert. I want to see him succeed.
Yeah, for Oregon quarterbacks normally don't have a big success rate in the NFL, though. Oh, by the way, how did he get that wide open in the end zone?
Because KC's defense is not that good. I've been saying it all year. I was saying it all last year. I've been saying it all.
Who was that in coverage?
Do
you know?
I'm not sure. That? He kind of gets lost. There's a miscommunication within the DBs and the safeties.
It almost looked like they dropped into some kind of zone and didn't bother to take care of the back of the end zone.
They got confused. They're double teaming Allen. But
also, by the way, let's go back to this throw. Beautiful.
Like I was saying, KC's defense isn't that good.
No.
KC's defense, the reason
because they're just content to drop 67 points on your head every night.
Their offense, when they know you have to throw the ball, and if you can keep, and this is the thing, is that KC's offense is so powerful, and we saw it in this game, that your defense needs to stay on its toes.
Yeah.
They can score with as little time as possession as they have. Like, that's not an issue. If you have to score on this defense, you need to make your possessions count. You can't have these these long 10, 15-minute drives and not get points out of it. You need points out of those. KC's defense relies heavily on that offense being able to force you guys to throw. If you're trailing, you're not going to run the ball, and they know it. You're going to throw it. So they can sit back, they can rush 4, and they'll make you throw it. If you're leading and you can control that and have those 10-minute drives where you're putting up points consistently, you're going to beat the Chiefs. That's how you beat the Chiefs. You keep Mahomes and that offense on the sideline by these long 10, 7 to 12-minute drives with points. And that's how you win. That's how you beat the Chiefs. It's not hard.
Yeah. Shane, before we run out of time, we got about 35 minutes here to do our picks. Let's get these in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our picks are going to be super simple.
Yeah. So pull up the schedule again here. Our Thursday night game I have saved as the what the fuck game. Why is this prime time?
I honestly can't even answer that. I have no idea.
But then again, after what we've seen from the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first couple of weeks of the season, I am very excited for this game. Like I said last week, I'm on board Minshew Mania train, and I'm excited to watch this game. But that being said, Shane,
I'm taking the Jags. I'm taking the Jags on this.
That's what I am doing as well. I think it's too obvious, honestly. The Dolphins are not good.
No, and I mean, yeah, no, they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I got the Jags on this one.
So, as I said last week, the Bills game is always going to be second because when I do this, I look at the Sportsnet app.
Yeah,
And
it's why the Steelers are always the first game on Sunday because they're my only team that I care about. So
Yeah.
they're always first.
Yep. So, I know you said you were going to go with the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Sticking with that?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got the Rams, baby.
So, like I said, once we figure out what's going on with Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds, I will decide where my pick is then.
No,
For now, I'm going with the Bills.
Yeah, you're going with the Bills.
I'm going to assume for now that at least one of them come back because I've heard positive things about both of them. So if neither of them come back, though, the Rams are going to kick the shit out of the Bills.
Even with them back, I think the Rams are going to win.
I don't know. The Bills linebacking core is super underrated. I'll tell you that much. Shane, we talked about the Falcons being done, or I did at least. Bears and Falcons.
Bears and Falcons. I gotta go Falcons. I think
against the Bears again.
I'm sorry. The Bears have had what? The Lions that they almost lost to, and they almost lost to the Barkley-less Giants. I'm taking the Falcons.
They haven't lost yet.
No, but I think the Falcons are a better team overall than the Bears.
Okay, so you remember how last week we had two games that were different?
Yeah.
We now have two again because I'm going Bears.
However, we have two. Oh yeah, because you're going Bills, but yeah, that's fine. I mean, the Bears haven't let you down. That's fair, but I feel like this is the week. This is the week that I don't see the Bears going 3-0. What the hell?
Anything's possible, man.
I'm taking the Falcons, man. Falcons all the way.
So you also said last week that the Washington football team is a football team to watch out for. This week, they're playing Cleveland, a team that
I'm going Cleveland.
You said you're going Cleveland.
I'm going Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay. I'm going Washington.
See, again, this is one where I'm torn because I like both of them, but I think Cleveland is just a little bit better offensively, has more offensive weapons, and if they can have the consistency that they had against the Bengals, they'll win.
Yeah.
If they can control Chase Young, they'll win 100%.
Yeah.
They need to run the ball. If they can run the ball, they'll win.
This is going to be make or break week. Just looking at the way things are shaking up here. Move on from that one. Titans and Vikings.
I gotta go Titans. You throw 11 points up against the fucking Colts. I'm Titans all the way.
Yeah, I'm agreeing that.
Barr is out since one of their linebackers is out for the rest of the season with a pec injury.
Yeah,
Barr, not even close. Titans all the
way. I agree with that. I think the Kirk Cousins mania was a little bit excessive, obviously. Not a good quarterback. Not good enough to win you a big game, at least.
Yeah, and Diggs.
Without Diggs, too, you've lost a lot of your offense there. And I'll tell you what, Shane, I'm looking back at that, I was a little bit you could have got DeAndre Hopkins for a lot less, and you paid this much for Diggs and everything. But I look at what Stephon Diggs brings to that Bills offense now, and what it does. Not only does it is he an amazing player, but now John Brown is also going to be a hell of a lot better this year than he was last year because they're not able to just key in on him anymore. But I think in the same sentence, not having Stephon Diggs to free up Adam Thielen does not help you.
No, not at all.
Raiders and Patriots.
Ooh, this is gonna be. I'm gonna go. I gotta go Raiders.
That is exactly where my pick is going to. I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that I think John Gruden's figured it out. And I think
everyone's finally bought into the system.
Yeah. I think
Josh Jacobs is going to run roughshod.
Mm-hmm. And I think Derek Carr's a good quarterback. I think Derek Carr is kind of right now, he's playing for his life. If he doesn't have a good year this year, he's probably done in Vegas.
Oh, in Vegas, yeah, but there's definitely a team that'll take him.
Right, but would you rather live and play in Las Vegas, or move to New Jersey and play with the Jets. Pretty easy choice to me.
Jets.
Because Sam Darnold stinks.
Sure. Second game is what? The Giants versus the 49ers?
Giants and 49ers.
Taking the 49ers, baby.
You picked the Giants last week, Shane. That was a massive dummy move.
Yo, they lost by 4 points.
It was a dummy move.
They lost by 4 points without Barkley. You're going to tell me that it's a dummy? They lost by 4 points without Barkley.
Dummy move.
Not at all.
They actually got better when Barkley got hurt. Just saying.
That's not surprising because they had to spread around the wealth.
Yeah, well, fair enough.
And it kept the defense honest because you didn't know what was coming. You knew with Barkley, you knew this is the problem with having an elite running back. You know what's coming. This is why elite running backs aren't that good.
Hey, by the way, what was announced today is that Devontae
Freeman signing with the Giants.
Freeman is now a member of the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So,
but like,
if you're a fantasy guy, keep an eye on that. That might be an interesting one to pick up. But moving on to the next game, Shane. Bengals in Philadelphia to take on the Eagles.
They both been shit. I see. I like what I've seen for Burrow.
I'm riding with the Bengals. I've picked the Bengals every game so far that they've played in, and I don't think that's going to stop here. I think Joe Burrow's riding into Philly and is getting their first win. And
honestly, yeah.
And on top of that, I think the sound guy is going to boo the Eagles off the field again at halftime.
I think I want to go Bengals. I'm going to go with Bengals on this.
I think Joe Burrow has been very promising, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I don't think Carson Wentz is very good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Eagles team is structured very well.
No, exactly. And they should have kept Nick Foles. Okay. Texans going into Pittsburgh.
Steelers easily.
You think it's easily, though?
Yeah. The Texans I'm sorry, you're going to lose to you're losing to KC, who doesn't have that good of a defense. You're going against probably the best defense in the league right now. You have given up, I believe the Texans offensive line have given up the most rushes comparatively to Steelers, which have created the most rushes. You know, JT Watt has 2.5 sacks, tied for first in the league with Chase Young as a linebacker. You don't see that. You don't see that very often where linebackers are top in the league in sacks. Obviously, that's going to drop down as the season goes, unless he just has a monster year. Dupree is having a wonderful year. Hayward, these guys are just monsters in the front seven. You have Fitzpatrick and Hayden in the backfield. This defense is too good to lose to the Texans. The offense is looks solid. You know, if Connor's still healthy, and he should be, they're going to mix it up with him and Snell and Samuel in the backfield. Ben looks like he's getting better every game. Who are you going to throw to? Brandon Cooks?
See, that's exactly where I'm at too. I think the Texans would win this game if they still had DeAndre Hopkins.
Even with DeAndre, I don't think they win this game.
Although I do think that this game is not going to be a blowout. I think this will be a close game.
I think it's not. I don't think it's going to be closer than what the Texans and Ravens game was, but I don't think it's going to be like a blowout.
I think you might be.
You're underestimating this defense.
I'm not. No. I think the defense is good. I think the defense is really good. I just think that you might be not giving Deshaun Watson enough credit.
Who does he have? It's Duke Johnson. Cool. We held Barkley to friggin' 6 yards running. You're gonna pair up. Who knows if Fuller's playing? If Will Fuller's not playing, you're screwed because you double team Cooks and then you pair up on Johnson and bam, you're gonna force you're forcing
before you get
Johnson, but you're gonna force it to run.
Before you get too hot with me, I have the Steelers winning this game. I just don't think it's gonna be a blowout.
Oh, I think it's gonna be a slaughter.
I think it'll be within 10.
Oh man!
But that being said,
I think it's going to be like 14 plus. I think it's a lot closer. I think it's a lot bigger than. It's a lot wider in margin than the Denver game. I don't think they have like the 10 penalties, giving them free yards.
Yeah. Well, also you played Jeff Driscoll, so
Yeah,
There you
gave
go.
up 14 points because of stupid penalties.
Well, points are points. Jets at Colts.
Ooh, I'm taking the Colts.
All right, we can just skip
Rivers,
past that because I got
baby.
the Colts too. The Jets suck. We don't need to spend any time talking about the Jets because the Jets stink. Teddy Bridgewater and the Christian McCaffrey-less Panthers going to take on Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor, who knows,
Chargers
and
all
the
the way.
Chargers.
Chargers.
Exactly.
Without Christian McCaffrey, it's going to be hard to pick. I like Bridgewater. I like Robbie Anderson. But without Christian McCaffrey, that offense just isn't the same.
I mean, you built your offense around Christian McCaffrey, and there's no such thing as a Christian McCaffrey replacement for you right now.
No.
It's
And I think Chargers defense with Bosa and Ingram, it's just the defense is too nasty. And they have the offensive pieces, so who knows? I think the Chargers should win this easily.
They should. Especially with the performance we saw them put up against the Chiefs. But we'll move on. Lions and Cardinals.
Cardinals. Kyle Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitz.
So you're a believer now.
I've been a believer.
Have you? Did you pick them in week 1? You didn't pick them in week 1.
No, but they're picking the 49ers, and I figured
Fair
the 49ers, they were just coming off the Super Bowl, and, everyone was healthy. I had reasons not to pick the Cardinals. But, I like Kyle Murray. I've always liked Kyle Murray. D-Hop.
Kyler.
D-Hop, man. It's all about DeAndre. DeAndre and Fitz, man. DeAndre and Fitz.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went Cardinals.
That's where I'm at too. It's it's too easy to pick the Cardinals. I think that D-Hop trade has really changed them. They're a little over the top now.
You double D-Hop, Larry gets open. Larry's still a capable receiver.
And then you've got the
Kenyon Drake.
And you got Kirk as well.
Yeah, Christian Kirk's finally coming around. He had a rough week 1.
Do they still have Andy Isabella as well?
I'm not sure.
But they have either way. They have guys that are capable of beating you. And here you go. You lock everybody up. Nobody's open. Guess where Kyler Murray's going?
Kyle Murray has some nasty moves.
He's, I was not a believer in Kyler Murray when he was drafted first overall. I didn't think that he was that guy, but I was wrong. Also, our ticker now says the Toronto Blue Jays suck.
Because they do.
We'll go back to the teams. Next game. Buccaneers in to play the Broncos, and we don't know who the quarterback is.
Yeah, well, it's Driscoll. Driscoll's their quarterback.
Is Locke still out?
Yeah, he's out for like 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, so it is Driscoll, unless Brock Osweiler makes an appearance, I guess.
No, it was they signed Bortles, actually.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're going to play Driscoll over – like, Bortles is a better quarterback than Jeff
Driscoll. Driscoll had a good game against the Steelers.
But it's the Steelers.
Get out of here with your fucking stupid...
It was a joke. It was a joke, Shane.
I feel confident going in there with Driscoll, but it's the Bucs, and I feel like Brady's going to come in and win.
I'm in agreement with that. Cowboys and the Seahawks.
Fucking Russell Wilson, baby. Don't even hate.
Russell Wilson, it's kind of surprising that team is still as good as they are. You've lost the Legion of Boom. That's all gone. Your receivers are still old. You don't really have the same weapons that you used to when you were younger. You don't got Marshawn Lynch anymore, and you're a mobile quarterback that's aging. Yet it doesn't seem to matter.
Russell Wilson
it's incredible.
Is a different breed.
Russell Wilson is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and that's not up for debate.
Dude, he is oh man, that guy is a magician. I love him. I love the new generation of NFL quarterbacks. Watson, Clemson represent for Watson and Hopkins. It's just
also, let's just throw this back up from Dakota earlier.
100% he is. But those weapons, got your Leonard Fournette now. You got, Evans, Godwin's playing.
Yeah. The last two games though that we have, Shane. I mean, I've got the Seahawks in that one as well, but two, I don't know what our answers are for this one. Packers at Saints. You going Packers, eh?
Easily.
That's where I'm going to.
Michael Thomas, you can tee up on Kamara. They don't really have that game-changing receiver outside of Thomas. You know, you can who's their second best receiver? Miles Sanders. You compare like you tee up, you can slot, and this is how the Raiders beat the Saints. They stacked the box, they forced Brees to throw, and they were able to play man on man. They didn't have to worry about Thomas.
Do the Saints should the Saints go sign Des Bryant again?
Probably.
I would do it.
Honestly, go out, pick off Bangleton off the practice roster for Green Bay.
Okay, so I think I get where you're coming from with that, but I would rather have Des Bryant on my team right now if I need a guy than Reggie Bangleton. Because at least if I go to Des Bryant, I know that Des Bryant has been on the field since. Like, he's been working out, he's been keeping in shape and everything.
So is Bangleton.
But on top of that, you've also got Des Bryant, a guy who's been a star in the NFL before, a guy who knows what it's like to be the number one receiver.
Kind of, in my opinion, he's kind of a one-trick pony. I don't think he's actually that good, in my opinion.
But you're also looking at a guy, you brought him in, right? You brought him in, you signed him. He probably knows your playbook a little bit.
Probably.
So I think that would be helpful. Go for it.
Like, I don't know, that without Thomas, the Saints aren't as good. Absolutely
not.
So I think Packers, they're a well-rounded team offensively and defensively. Alexander's probably going to be on Miles Sanders. That front seven's going to tee off. I could be wrong, but I see Aaron Rodgers just having a field day with that defense.
I do too. Aaron Rodgers has something to prove this year, man. When they drafted Jordan Love, it was immediate that Aaron Rodgers was like, all right, well, you guys clearly don't believe in me. This is my team. And you're going to learn that pretty quickly, Mr. Jordan Love, when I don't let you ever play.
See, here's the thing, though, is that I don't think the idea of he's supposed to play or was going to play this year is null and void. They're not looking for a quarterback to play this year or next year. They're looking for a quarterback who's going to play.
Yeah, but
Rodgers leaves.
But that's the other thing. Aaron Rodgers isn't thinking about that right now.
No, but as an organization, you have to. They did this with Favre, and it worked out perfectly for him.
But I don't know,
exactly what this organization has done before.
Okay, so we won't get into this. Is a debate for later, definitely. But we'll do our last game, and then we'll get out of here. The one everybody wants to see: Chiefs at
Ravens, baby. Ravens flock easily. Lamar Jackson is a different kind of quarterback.
That's what I'm going with as well. If this was a playoff game, I would take the Chiefs. But it's like that thing where when the Patriots and the Chiefs would play in the regular season, Chiefs would win. And then when you got to the playoffs, like the Chiefs, Bill Belichick outcoached Andy Reid. And that's just how it would go. I think it's kind of the same deal with the Ravens and the Chiefs here.
I don't know. You have two Super Bowl winning coaches. Like, Lamar Jackson is just a different breed. I think it would be stupid. Like, and that team is just better. It's just on paper, the defense is better. Like, Marcus Peters should have a field day. Like, they can stack up against the offensive weapons of KC.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think they have their own weapons as well. So that's why I'm going with the Ravens here. I think they're going to win this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if they don't, but I think they will.
I think this one's going to be a close game. This is a game you want to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I am super excited for this one.
But Shane, one more time before we go. Let's laugh at the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Always good.
Oh, man. What a shame. What a shame. The amount of talent you've had and thrown it away.
Also, can we're gonna take, actually there is one I'm gonna grab it real quick before we go, because this needs to be talked about real quick, because I don't understand how this wasn't a penalty on the play. But I mean, I think you guys all know what I'm talking about with the Browns Cleveland Thursday night game. I don't understand how I don't understand how this isn't a penalty. We're very bad at planning what we're going to show. We really need to get better at it. We have a full week to do it. Don't know why.
We ran out of time.
No, I just forgot to.
I had to go buy a little tripod. So now I got my tripod.
I have the same one.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
This one's nice. I like this tripod.
But yeah, they're good. It wraps around trees and whatnot.
It does.
But like, if you all know what I'm talking about, or should hopefully.
I don't.
We posted it on our Twitter. That's really all you should know. That it's if it's up there, it's important.
That's definitely not true.
I know you get into random fights with people on Twitter through our.
It wasn't even a fight. Come on, try to grow grass in Buffalo in the middle of a winter.
I mean, to be fair, they were saying that like, Buffalo uses grass. They don't.
They use don't.
Turf. I looked it up because I was curious.
Well, I think the guy's argument was the fact that there's grass at people's houses, and I'm like, yeah, but you also don't have to shovel 14 inches of snow off of it after it snows.
Okay, so this missed pass interference call. He grabs the damn shirt. Literally, how do you not see that? How do you not call that pass interference? Like, we'll take another look. He beats him clean. This is a clean break. He has him, and he just pulls on his sweater. Like
you know what I think it is, Shane? You know why I think you missed that? Because if I'm looking down the sidelines there and I see a team wearing orange and brown, I cover my eyes and I don't want to look at it.
Okay, but you're not supposed to. That's the problem.
You know what does look gorgeous, though? Josh Allen throwing this deep ball. Oh, let's just appreciate that throw. Whew!
I mean, I think we have you beat with this Mapletron. Represent Canada.
Mm.
You know who I'm surprised hasn't seen action yet, or haven't seen like
Brandon Zylstra?
No, friggin' I mean, I've said it before, Gallimore.
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that much because I don't think that we either of us expect him to be an NFLer long term.
Yeah, that's true. And it's no offense to him. It's just the way things go.
Yeah.
But with that being said, that'll be all for today's episode. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening on to Spotify or Apple Podcast, head over to our YouTube channel so you can see the clips that we're talking about. It's a great experience. We will get better at this. Thank you for everyone who turned in. You can catch us back here next Tuesday at 6:30. We run
and
tomorrow, right? We're back here tomorrow, Wednesday. For the ones listening to this on Spotify, you probably missed it, or you will be listening to it in the morning. We'll be doing a live show at 6:00 with Urinating Tree for some reason. Yep. I don't know. This is all Frankie. We also had our thing with Dave from Canuck Play with Maximum Football. That's also on YouTube. It will be posted onto Spotify and whatnot on Wednesday as well. You can follow me at Shannon_Ryan, Frankie, HPR_Frankie13, and obviously the podcast, 13th Man Pod on Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook as well as our website. Check out our Redbubble store. For everyone who's ordered our items, our merch, it should be in sometime this week, hopefully. It's been a little bit longer due to COVID stuff. So hopefully we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. Thank you guys, and we will catch you back here next week tomorrow actually, or next week with a brand new episode of the 13th Man Podcast. See you later. Stay safe.